on this blade. Too cold. I like this one. Keep your hands on myself. I bust them all, put them back up on the shelf. Little baby girl isn't me. Then I'll come around and left. Ooh, I'm a brother just for kicks. I don't feel it too much as any suits. I'll be over the night. Feel it still. Ooh, I'm a brother just for kicks. Let me kick you like it's 1986. I'll be over the night. Feel it still. Girl, looking on the feet. Just for kicks now. I was in the beat, so I want to eclipse. What's up, chat? Love you over now. Feeling still. I want to relax to something, something, something. Love you over now. Feeling still. Just give me. My pain is my armor. I'm gonna let it go. So come take a shot, and I dare you. Hard as it is to destroy your life. Nothing my pain tries cold as ice. I don't know what to think. I could smoke. I don't know where it's going. The going is tough, and I'm all alone. I'm living a prayer, was ever comfortable living with her. I'm still my revolution. You see me, but I won't let the dust give me. Sometimes you're seeing what I want that the best is getting. Should we do the true crime or giggles first? I think maybe some giggles. Okay. So this is the Welsh twins, and they're doing a try not to laugh challenge. So I guess whoever they were working with strung up a bunch of videos they thought would make these two laugh, and like their goal is to not laugh, but it's hard to look at them and not laugh. They're both wearing these god awful wigs, so between the bad wigs and like the Jeffrey Dahmer glasses. It's funny. I was laughing so hard earlier. I had tears in my eyeballs, so I paused it and I thought maybe you should see it too.
Hello, I'm Robert Welsh, and every 7 days consecutively. Hi, I'm James Welsh. Hello, I'm Robert Welsh, and every 7 days consecutively, we will remind you
So
that
serious.
we were once one egg that changed into two. Therefore, make us two separate people. Yes, that's not funny. That's not a joke. Today, no laughing, please. Don't do that. Don't do that. Today, we are going to do the Try Not to Laugh challenge, where we'll look at videos on the internet and try not to laugh at them together. If we do laugh, everyone gets a point, except us. If we laugh, we die. Bring henceforth the video. Continue the arrangements to the video, please. Consequencing in us, perhaps laughing, perhaps not. Let's take a look at our first video. We will click a button, right? It hasn't started yet. Maybe we should discuss with each other what makes each other laugh. Anything that's not funny, people falling over, makes me laugh. Can we have your response? I don't like children, so watching them fall over kind of makes me laugh too. What makes you laugh? People falling over. I don't like people falling over around swimming pools. No, that makes me people on skateboards falling over because I feel like I feel really bad for them. Yeah. Okay. 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 Ready? Yes. He in fact tried his best and later she passed, I assume.
Just the CPR on her calf muscle didn't work.
What a fucking idiot. That's a test to us.
Wings. Look at the wings. Investigation design.
Oh, okay, that was the test one. I think we passed that. Yeah, I actually don't have any tissue, so I have a strips of toilet. Oh. Video number 2. Life is very serious. It's oh no. I haven't seen this. It's so funny. Okay, hang on. Okay.
Fish fingers. Bullying.
1 sip.
2 sip.
3 sip.
4 sips. Stop! Say no! Judith didn't look both ways when she crossed the road. In school, hormones can be all over the place. Hey, Elizabeth.
Go away! Leave me alone, okay?
Ah, that cut me deep, but I know that was the hormone monster.
Stupid.
It's just making the fact that we can't laugh. Right, no, let's start serious. Okay, right now. That was another test. Yeah, let's regroup it. Okay. It starts from now, alright?
That's okay, sorry.
Oh, no. Girl.
Yes, no, I'm okay. Yeah, that's fine. Okay, on to the video. DL4.mov. I'm actually heartbroken for that dog. It's a good idea to pay dogs equal attention, thus giving them attention both. How would you like it if you were a dog and somebody got you and you one? There's still tissue in your right lip. Oh my god, stuck to your eye. I think I set it to my face.
There's only one video that lives in my head for free, and it's this one.
Ew! No, we're not. You're gonna make me puke. No.
These videos at face value.
They're trying so hard to be serious.
So may have been caught.
But look at the wigs, it's so hard to take them seriously.
Behind the plant parts, you
The
can't
Dharma
look at these videos at face value.
Joan is prepared to take a voluntary driving assessment to prove that she has what it takes to be on the road.
Well, she seems rather proud of herself. For someone who could have caused serious accidents, old people shouldn't drive. I'm going to stop when I'm 90. Number 8, let me just see what's happening here. You're just going to go like that in donuts.
Honestly, I don't remember. I was probably fucked up. I was crazy back then.
I could do Seraphim now. Do you remember when you were younger and you play like inside,
less funny.
And how sweaty you would get as a
First
kid?
one. Paper mache eyeball. That one got me. I think what's funny for me about it, mostly, is that that's not how they are.
Hi, I'm Robert Wells. I'm James Wells. And this is your weekly reminder, we are not the same person. It's just ignorance. This is a measure of your ignorance.
Yeah, like
That's that.
yeah, a thing called the song.
Like they're just not between the wigs. We're stupid and them trying to pretend to be serious. I couldn't take it seriously. Just bad wigs. That was the Welsh twins. Hilarious. They're usually just funny, giggly. Well, sometimes they have like serious stuff, but that was different. That was pretty funny. This one also, this guy reminds me a lot of my crystal shop friend, my business partner. He's different. He's got his own thing, but he has a lot of similar hobbies and belts of knowledge as Tony did, and they also kind of look alike a little bit. They're not the same, but Tony's gone. So I was comforted to find this a couple of years back.
They knew his plans.
It's Townsend's. Tony would have liked this channel, actually.
I love studying the lives of soldiers in the 18th century, especially the everyday soldier.
He was smart, Tony. He was a historian like this guy. He was also an entomologist and a geologist. Brilliant man.
What was their life like? What did they wear? What did they eat? How did they cook it? And that's exactly what this episode is about. We're talking specifically here about soldiers in the War of 1812 and the ingenuity they needed to survive in the field with their equipment and with their food. At the very beginning of the War of 1812, before it even started, before America declared war, they decided they were going to send a military force up to Detroit and possibly attack Canada. And they sent a man called General Hull from Ohio with some troops to do that very thing. He wasn't maybe a very good general. As they were going up there to get close to Detroit, he decides to send his personal papers, the plans, the declaration of war, some equipment, all their provisions on board a schooner to go the rest of the way. And that schooner was captured by the British. They knew his plans, they had his provisions, and some of their equipment. The soldiers go on to Detroit, but they are immediately in need of resupply. And General Hull sends back down to the Cincinnati area for more supplies, and he says, definitely send men to guard those supplies as they come up to us. And that's where this story really starts. There's a gentleman down in that area in Chillicothe, Ohio, called Samuel Williams. He was a resident of that area. The governor in that area, he comes forward and he says, these men need resupply up in Detroit. We need to raise an immediate force. We need to raise a militia to guard these supplies to go up there. And 100 men volunteer on the spot. And within 24 hours, they were equipped, they had a uniform, they had officers, they had everything they needed so that they could go and march off and take these supplies to Detroit. Now, as they're going up there, Mr. Williams writes letters to his wife. He describes the lives of these soldiers and exactly what they're doing.
Everybody stop right now and do me a favor. But really, it's a favor for you. Come with me and go outside and look at the moon. Where you are. If you can see the moon where you are, you should look. It's so bright. the moon over a roof.
He also kind of gives us a history. And that's where this story really starts. He talks about the equipment, and I'm wearing basically the equipment they had. They had natural linen trousers, they had natural linen hunting crocks, they had a special hat with a special button on the side of it, they had tomahawks and knives and guns and all the equipment they would need for that. But you know what he didn't list? They didn't have tents, and they didn't have any cooking implements. And so he gives us a description about exactly how they eat and how they're cooking the minimal provisions that they had, which they just had some flour and they had some bacon and salt. That is it. That's all the soldiers had to live with. He even complains a lot that they didn't really have any water, and that they would just kind of get water out of the ruts in the road. And these men were not professional soldiers. They just volunteered for this job. They just had regular jobs at home right there in that Cincinnati area. And so it was a tough haul. They were marching 20 and 30 miles a day. These men were not ready for that kind of activity. Now, it is kind of a sad story because they get very close to Detroit, but the British have surrounded the fort up there. And eventually the general surrenders to the British, and he surrenders these men that haven't even made it to Detroit yet. They decide that they are not going into captivity. They turn around and head right back to Cincinnati. Here he's talking about the water they had available. He says, along the route at this point, the expedition continued to suffer greatly from want of good water, being obliged to drink out of puddles along the roadside and use pond water for cooking. And let's talk about this cooking. They had no equipment. He talks about one single kettle, and what they really have for equipment are their tomahawks and their knives so that they can make their own cooking implements, just like we're doing here, cutting sticks down and cooking on them, doing whatever ingenuity that these soldiers had to do. In Samuel Williams' narration, he gives us an amazing description of their food and how they cook it. This is rare that we will get this first person account that gets into such detail and is so helpful that we can reproduce it right here. He says, "You will smile at our mode of cooking. Could you see us thus employed? Our company is divided into messes of 6 men each. Our rations are delivered together to each mess when we encamp at night. This consists of flour, fat bacon, and salt. The flour is kneaded in a broad iron kettle and is drawn out in long rolls the size of a man's wrist and is coiled around a smooth pole, sometimes 3 inches in diameter and 5 or 6 feet long, on which the dough is flattened so it is to be a half an inch thick or more in thickness. The pole is thus covered with dough except for a few inches at each end. It is placed on 2 wooden forks driven in the ground in front of the campfire and is turned frequently till it is baked. When it is cut off in pieces, the pole is covered again, thus in the same manner, and baked. Our meat is cooked thus. A branch of the tree having several twigs on it is cut. The ends of the twigs are sharpened. The fat bacon is cut in slices and stuck on these twigs, leaving a little space between each. Each man is then given a piece of the pole bread and lays thereon a slice of bacon. With his knife, he cuts therefrom and eats his meal with good appetite." They're making bacon sandwiches and they're making the bread on a stick. That is exactly what we're going to try to reproduce here today.
Clever.
First, let's mix up the dough. This is just like what we normally do for fire cakes and even ship's biscuit. We're going to take our flour, we're going to mix in a little bit of salt, and then we're going to take water and stir that in until we make a thick, sticky paste or dough. The directions seem to imply that this was done per mess. So each group of 6 men would probably have their own campfire, and their own stick. I've preheated this stick over the fire, and it's warm from about here to here. I'm not going to put dough out toward the edges. He talked about, really stretching it all the way out. They'd have to have a fairly long and very warm fire pit to do this. That's the problem with this, is that it's easy to make the fire consistent over a small distance, but it's much harder to do it over a large distance. But we'll do our best. We're going to take our dough that's nice and soft and start to wrap it around the stick in a coil fashion from one end to the other. You might have to press this in and glue it together a little bit so it doesn't try to uncoil itself. But this wraps on here very, very easily. We can smash it down until it gets to about that half-inch thick that he talks about. And once it's wrapped all the way around, we do want to get enough on here to make a difference. So this is about 18 inches or 24 inches of dough from one end to the other. This is probably going to work out just fine. Might not be in the perfect spot, but we'll get this on the fire. It'll really be interesting how quickly it's going to bake. And I'll build this fire up a little bit so that it gets a little bit warmer. We kind of slow cooked this bread on the fire this kind of height. I didn't want to blister it. We did have a little bit of that going on here, but that's very, very typical for this kind of baking. And I think it's turned out really well. So it's nice and warm and very consistent. I didn't have to rotate it very often. The stick did warm up, so it should be cooked basically all the way through. And we won't know until we cut this off, but I'm just going to slice it down and kind of peel it off and see how it turns out. The nice thing about this is, unlike fire cakes, when you're cooking them on the coals, you have to be right there constantly working them. This, it's up off the fire enough that we can set it on the fire, come back 5 minutes later, rotate it a little bit. So it's actually very easy to do.
Yeah.
This bread turned out well for having absolutely no equipment but the sticks that we bring out of the woods. And yes, it's a little doughy on the inside here, but that's very, very typical for these fire cakes. So let's find out how it tastes. It's got a great texture. I probably added a touch too much salt. I can imagine the soldiers in that setting wouldn't have had any problem with that. This would be the perfect bread substitute when you don't have real bread and you're on the march. The stories about the difficulties that these men had, they would cook all this stuff up in the evening, and they would keep it for the next.
Other than they complained about not having enough water, which means that extra salt intake would make you thirstier. Okay, that chapter has a new video out. Got some more history things too, but maybe we'll wait on those. I hear that. You like that? The here. Username is Townsend's. Give him a follow if you'd like. He reminds me a lot of this guy. They even look very much alike, don't they? But he would have liked him. They were interested in some similar things. They would have easily been able to be friends. I could easily see him going to some, like, I don't know, like little Renaissance fair or something and chatting this guy up. Very similar. Nature people, history people. Enjoyed the simple things of life. Bread on a stick. Okay, so this is the sinister case of Jonathan Cheryl. Cheryl? I don't know. We're going to check it out.
Hey you.
Hello,
My name is Mike.
Thank
and
you.
in this old video, we are going to South Carolina for a story of seafood
That's right.
and jealousy. Because you know what? Obsession is back on the menu, boys. It all started when a successful restaurant owner, a restaurateur, said the wrong thing to the wrong person.
Hello.
And another wrong person thought it would be the right time to do some killing. You got that? Because I didn't. Buckle up, buckaroos, because it all began in Bluffton, South Carolina. Let's give it a go. Located deep in the low country, Bluffton is straight out of that old southern antebellum type crack. You got the Spanish mops, you got the good old boys, you got the yes ma'am, you got the murder, y'all, you got the usual. These days, the jewel of South Central Beaufort County, close to Savannah, Georgia, is home to around 30,000 folk, primarily rich and retired, but is growing quickly in the States. Though this story will dissuade you of any notions of safety. I'm sure didn't it all begin in the autumn of 2015. The weather was cooling, things once green now turning to yellow and red. And just before Halloween, on October 28th, this 911 call came in to the Bluffton Police Department.
Emergency. It's 39 Pine Crestway.
I dropped it.
She said 39.
Pardon me.
She said 39 Pine Crestway. What's going on there? I don't really feel anything. I'm not outside. It was just shot.
This call came in just after 1 a.m. from 39 Pine Crest Way. The caller had just seen their good friend, Jonathan Sherrill, shot to death right in front of them. Racing to the home, arriving there minutes after that call, police found two people still alive inside the home. One was the caller, the victim's friend. The other was the victim's roommate. They were escorted outside, and at the rear of the home, on the back patio, they found the victim himself. That was 33-year-old Jonathan Sherrill. Jonathan was sitting on patio furniture, where his friend said he had been shot. He looked like he had just fallen asleep, his leg crossed, phone still in hand, till police saw the vicious wound to the side of his face. There was blood spatter on the side of the house, and also shell damage to the house. Jonathan had taken a shotgun shell to the side of his head. It was instant. It was a very confusing and chaotic scene to begin with, right? The victim's roommate, who also lived there, they said, he said he had been in bed, he had been asleep, when all of a sudden, boom, that's what he hears, so he says, runs outside, finds Jonathan dead. But a friend had an even more intimate story with the murder that had happened right in front of him. He said he'd come over to Jonathan's a couple of hours earlier, they'd been having a few drinks, shooting the shit on that back patio, when the friend said all of a sudden he heard what sounded like a shotgun being loaded coming from the darkness behind him. He opened his mouth to say, what was that? But before he could even finish that sentence, two shots rang out. Jonathan's head snapped back, and he was murdered right in front of him. Now, I know what you're thinking. Police did examine both men at the scene. They swabbed their hands for any gunshot residue to make sure that that whole story isn't bullshit. They were telling the truth. After checking the scene, they would determine it looked like he had been shot at a distance, and police would find two empty 12-gauge shells in the grass. If you look at a map, you can see Jonathan's house backed onto fields that would have been pitch dark that autumn night. So who was Jonathan, and why would anybody want him dead? In this little video, folks, a sinister plan had horrifying consequences. And you know something else? Let me tell you this for free. Not getting your health checked can also have... I'll take better care of our health. Jonathan was 33, originally from Rhode Island, growing up in Ohio, going to college in Pennsylvania, and he got his degree in business from Allegheny College. Jonathan was a bit of an artist. He loved to draw. He collected comic books. He played the old gift box. But he was a real people person. Gregarious. Loved hanging around with people. Loved talking. Loved dealing with
his
people.
narration.
So it was, the restaurant industry that really called to him. And he found out, sure wasn't the only hella good at it. He wanted to reinvent, restaurants. Bring people what they wanted. So good ass grub in a nice setting. And he was like, sure, he was fairly successful at it. He helped develop some bars with great reputations, knew how to make a mean cocktail, and he ended up co-owning a number of restaurants in the area. A place called Charbar, a place called Trinity Restaurant, a place called Pepper's Porch. A single guy in an area known for seafood, he was a bit of a catch. He had been living on Pinecrest Way of late, living with his roommate, who was an older fella who was actually, his business partner. And this is a nice, quiet, residential neighborhood. I mean, as I went through Bluffton, this thing doesn't happen in Bluffton. But people always say that till it happens. Mm-hmm. But no known enemies. A guy just trying to help out the local businesses, give people good food, revitalize struggling businesses. A bonus, to the community. So who would want him dead?
Usually there's something else. People who think, nothing like that ever happens here, tend to let their guard down. These are often the types of people that leave their doors unlocked, and those are the specific types of people that predators are looking to seek out. So.
Quiet neighborhood is shaken up after a man is killed, and now police think he was targeted.
So it's pretty rare that we have violent crime. I know there's been some recent things that have happened that I think it's kind of a fluke. It's not something that normally happens around here. I mean, there's break-ins, there's things like that, but there's, homicide is not usually on the scale.
Police canvassed the area, though the killer had long since fled. One thing, though, police noticed is that this is a wealthier area. There were a lot of cameras around, one even facing, almost, Jonathan's home. Now, he had been shot from the darkness of the field, but maybe someone had been scoping out the home, or had driven by. You never know. Jonathan's friend, who had been with him at the time, the one he invited over and they were having a few drinks, he said Jonathan...
Yeah, great boy.
He was in Grandel form, not a bother on him. Nothing worrying him, nothing really stressing him out. Though he did say earlier that very day, a woman had kind of just rocked up, knocked on his door, out of the blue.
She said something really weird happened, something like that. He said, he came up and said he heard a knock or a doorbell rang. He looked through the people and saw a girl there. She said she had car trouble or something, so she pulled into his driveway.
Now, he knew her. She had been a regular at some of the bars he ran. He didn't mention her name, though, to his friend when he was retelling the story of what had just happened. He said, she had randomly shown up, had car trouble, wink, wink, and was asking Jonathan for some help. He was thinking, is she going to whip out the sweater puppies or what?
Went out and looked at her car. Everything's fine.
He said she tried to make out with him?
Yeah.
You described the girl to you at all?
He said it was like a girl about his age. I guess decent looking, that's all he said.
She was even trying to give John a little smoocheroonie. But John, to be fair, he saw that she was married, so he shot that shit down. But he said it was really, really strange that this woman just, came up to his house, was flirting heavily with him, and John just wasn't having it. He didn't want to get involved with any married woman. Something weird was definitely going on with that interaction, but that was about the height of it. But she was a married woman, and John wasn't interested in it. Because, hear that from my invisible watch? That's the ticking time bomb. Did it go off that night?
We're talking about house marriage, someone's trying to chase the house, or someone trying to break in, or I don't know, but...
Checking the neighborhood cameras, they did see a woman. They saw her and John talk outside, and John's dog at one point escaped, and she helped bring it back. But police didn't know who she was, but they did see the car she left in, and it didn't seem like she had any car trouble at all. Watching the CCTV, the car had returned and driven past Jonathan's house shortly before the time of the murder. In fact, it had stopped at the end of the street and waited there for about 30 seconds. Before driving off, turning left, and disappearing. However, seconds later, there was a light. The car's brake lights had come on. following the car. It had circled the neighborhood at that very time. However, it was raining that night. The license wasn't visible. All they could tell was that this suspicious woman was in a Toyota Camry. One thing identifiable about the Camry, the front right hubcap was different to the others. Small thing, but a thing. It was some thing. Now, if you'll remember, and I sure hope you do, at the time he was shot dead, Jonathan was on his phone. And not for fun. He'd been texting at the very moment he'd been shot in the head. Who was he texting? Could that be a clue? Was somebody texting him to make sure he was home at that very moment? Getting his records, they led to a friend, Josh, a chef at one of his restaurants, and police asked him to come in and speak with them. Did he know anything at all? He told the police everything he knew. Jonathan's friends, troubles, business partners, who he bought weed off. I mean, at this point in the investigation, there was a million different ways this investigation could go. There have been fallings outs on the business front. People who had promised to invest didn't do so. There was a lot of money in this shit. Some of the businesses were not doing quite as splendid and spectacular as Sean and his co-owners were hoping. Josh thought that maybe John had gotten in over his head with it, with his many businesses, his many investments.
Honestly, we can't really know what it says. As far as drugs, business, has he ever told you who he's in over his head with? No. He's mentioned that he couldn't talk. I was like, I can't tell you what I did. I was like, well, I can't help you unless you tell me. John did a lot. Well, tell us, like, did a lot. As in, you did a lot of that.
Maybe he had too many irons in the fire, and because of this, Josh mentioned that John was taking a lot of Xanax. Maybe he got involved with the wrong crowd. This led police to a Seth and Colette Collins, friends of John. Seth, a former landscaper, but an injury stopped that, and Colette, a waitress. Josh mentioned them as friends of Jonathan and maybe also involved with some other things. Now, police went to their home to go speak with the Collins. And as they drove down the dirt road leading to their home, they spotted a car outside the Collins home. A Camry. What are the odds? It was a Toyota Camry with one different hubcap. 3 of the hubcaps on the car had 6 holes, 1 had 7 holes. Now, Seth, whose real name was Sam, by the way, it's like, if you're going to change your name, at least put some effort into it. He wasn't home, but his wife, Colette Collins, she was home, and she said, shit, I'll talk.
Thank you for telling us that you need a mental hospital.
Jonathan's house, trying to flirt with him.
Do you need anything? Water? I guess he got touchy or something, but... Yeah, there's some on. You got some bottled water? Or Diet Coke? Who wants that?
Now, her story, when asked, why did you stop by Jonathan's house earlier the day he was murdered, she said, sure, I was driving in the area. Sure, you know yourself, I was driving in the area, and I thought to myself, how's Jonathan? May as well see how he's keeping. He's been having some troubles lately. I'll pop the head in.
How do you know him? I know him from Peppers. We used to go up there. We be my husband and I, and we would go to the back bar, and that's how we met John.
Do you know what time you got there?
Maybe around 10-ish. Wait, 10:45. Did he know you were coming back? Yeah, he did know.
He said surprising.
I was on the way home, and I was like, I'm passing his house. I'm just gonna stop by.
What all did y'all talk about?
We just talked about, his restaurant, his parents, what he plans on doing next.
After that, Colette said she left his home. She then drove to a gas station. She bought a little bottle of wine, and then she began drinking the bottle of wine, having herself a nice, lovely little night of drunk driving. Car wine, straight from the bottle. That's how the French do it,
I know this is a bad call of judgment, but I did open that wine. My husband hasn't had a drink in over a year, as of September 1st, and he doesn't like for me, so I don't want to bring it around him, so I kind of rode around and drank on that bottle of wine.
After that, Colette said she blacked out. Would love to tell you, but my silly old brain doesn't know anything. Police let her go, called her husband Sam to come in, and Sam would take it easy, saying, I'll be there when I'm there. He didn't speak to police until the following morning, having a good 12 hours to make sure his story was straight with the wife. Of course not, just to make sure they're both telling the Truth. But the same truth.
We'll let you know that you were not in custody and that you were free to leave anytime. Okay. Tuesday night, where were you? I was at home. Are you aware that she was over at his house the night you were murdered? She did mention to me when she came home that she stopped by there. Did she normally stop by his house? That's what I asked her. Yeah, and she said no. Remember what time she came in that night? I think it was like 1:30 or so. She was drunk. Would you give the consent to search your house and your vehicle? No. You want to give consent to search your house and vehicle? No, that's just okay. Sounds like invasion of my privacy.
Sam denied owning any firearms, especially not, definitely no, a 12-gauge shotgun, but refused to give police permission to search his home and vehicle. Now, at this point, the Collinses were clearly the primary suspects in this case. Their car had been seen in the area at the time of the murder. Colette just happened to pop in, right, a couple of hours before the murder, and according to John, when he was telling his friend, she was acting peculiar. Definitely something weird going on here, but not enough to make a move on the couple. Not enough to get a search warrant, not enough to get an arrest. Funnily enough, though, it would be Sam who would give them what they needed to do those things. If you're a suspect in a murder case, or are at least being questioned in relation to a murder case, it might be, just putting this out there, this might sound outrageous, but it might be a good idea to just lay low. Keep your head down, nose out of trouble. One thing that wouldn't be ideal, for instance, is to, get blazed and then drive around town. Man, I wish I could tell Sam that 11 years ago. 4 days after the interview, on November 4th, Sam was pulled over at a traffic stop.
How are you, sir? I'm also paid by the police department. Your driver's license, registration, and insurance, please. The reason I'm stopping you is for two reasons, partner.
No.
One, you're doing 40 in a 25 school zone, and the other is you don't have.
The cat was just protecting me from that asshole. That's right, kitty sensor. That's right. That's Anubis. This is Anubis. This cat got into a fight with a coyote, okay? And the coyote lost. The coyote did bite him on the neck, on the throat, which is usually a kill shot. But he managed to make it home just fine. All but a little puncture wound on his neck. Which really makes him a fucking badass. And the coyote lost. That's right. I heard that. Well, I'd say the coyote lost. Yes, if that mofo had hit its jaws around my cat's neck, what kind of damage do you think he did with his double paws and sharpened claws to get that coyote to release him? You didn't give that thing a choice. You fucked it up, and I know it. Came home with a little battle wound for mommy to tend to, but okay. My protector. I do this. I keep him safe too. Actually, there was a fox out there today in the daytime. I kept them close eye on them. Made extra sure they didn't slip out on accident, even though I was in and out. Yeah, you can go too, you piece of shit.
Had lent Sam a shotgun. He said Sam was scared for his life after an attempted robbery. That's why he gave it to her.
Oh, also, I'll take things for fun. Yeah, see, you're a bad gambler and a broke-ass piece of shit. You shouldn't be gambling when you don't have anything to gamble in, especially when you can't put your money where your mouth is.
When I was scared for laughing, I borrowed that shotgun.
It's a bad bet to try to come for me, bitch. Enjoy your karma tomorrow.
However, the friend
And your
was
nightmares
surprised to be
tonight.
getting the shotgun back. in the middle of the night. It had even been raining that night. So he woke up, when he woke up to those messages, he was like, what the shit? And then, get this, he said when he went to his truck, found that Sam had left the shotgun there. The shotgun was still loaded. It was still on fire, as in the safety was not on. The last shell used hadn't been ejected, even. And then one night, I wake up next morning and I had a bunch.
We'll take things that never happened for 500. Actually, the veterinarian bill and the veterinarian's hospital records would say otherwise, because I did end up taking him to the vet to get checked out and to get antibiotics. Thank you. So there is record of that. There's proof that that happened. It's not just hearsay. Thank you. Stupid ass. But he still beat the coyote.
A message for that he put it in the back of my truck. And I was like, didn't it rain last night? And I was like, what the heck is he doing? I go back there and it was still loaded. And safety was off of it. What the hell? It had the skin around. It had been ejected.
And of course, prints and DNA matched Sam Collins. They had the murder weapon, fingerprints, and likely footage of Colette waiting for and then collecting Sam after the murder. Sam was then charged with that murder. Colette was taken in this time. We have everything. Do you want to tell a story? And she said, sure. She had a story to tell. Her story was like, yeah, I stopped by Jonathan's that very day. All of that part of the story is true. And after stopping by Jonathan's, she did go and get wine. But when she finally got home to Sam, Sam smelled the alcohol on her breath. Knew she had just been with Jonathan, and so was not a fan of that, like at all. He was the jealous type and figured out something had happened. Now, nothing did happen. Thanks to Jonathan, not thanks to Colette.
I had never talked to John without Sam around. So he automatically thought something was up. And then he was like, well, let's go talk to John. I want to confront him about you. I didn't know any of this had happened until I saw it in the news. And I just knew, like, I didn't know what to do. I was scared.
Now, that was partly true. Sam did have it against John, but more than that. A few weeks earlier, Sam, a drug dealer, had been robbed. He believed that John had given up information to the robbers, had set him up. John had given these guys this info because he owed them a lot of money. They were another group of drug dealers, and John was into the Xanax a lot.
At the same time, he's telling me that John knows something. So Seth is telling you that he thinks John knows something about what? About the guys coming up. That John was at his house. He said he's getting really weird. He's walking around sweating. He's like, I gotta go. Next thing you knew. So John was at the house before he got hit? Yeah. Really? Okay. So John disappears. Next thing you know, his house gets hit. Yes. I mean, Seth, I think you can just put two and two together and say, there probably has some kind of influence. Well, Seth called me. Seth wasn't pissed at me. Seth was like, I just want to know. He came to my house. So John, I don't care about him.
Sam was indeed afraid for his life, and he believed John had something to do with that. Sam was also doing a lot of the devil's dandruff, which is not, conducive to rational thinking. Sam already had it against John, so now his wife's coming home stinking of alcohol, telling him she's just been with John. Sam was the very jealous type. He did not trust Colette because she had cheated on him before, multiple times before. So having it already against John for a robbery, and now believing his wife was having an affair with John, that was it. Again, according to John, nothing happened. In fact, from the CCTV, it seemed like they were standing outside his house the entire time. But, to Sam's mind, it was very, very different. And you don't know what Colette told Sam about what really happened. Maybe she wanted him to go and do something. But regardless, a Sam driven by obsessive jealousy got a gun, his friend's gun. Colette drove him there. Why Colette willingly drove him there and then didn't tell the police, and even after the murder did not seem to give a shit about John. Like in the interviews, she's very cool, calm, and collected. That part makes no sense at all. 2017, Sam was convicted of first-degree murder. He was sentenced to 50 years. Colette herself went on trial in 2018. Sam testifying against her. Man, he really fucking hated her. She was found guilty of accessory after the fact, and she got 15 years. Sam would later say he fired 2 shots at Jonathan's house, only meaning to scare him. Probably should have used the Halloween mask, because firing twice with a 12-gauge shotgun at 2 sitting people, not the best idea, I think. And there you have it. I mean, it is a weird story, and I don't believe Colette at all that what she really told Sam happened. Maybe she was lying to Sam. Maybe she was telling Sam they were having an affair. Maybe there really was an affair. I mean, what really happened that day between Colette and John when she called over? John told his friend she was like flirty with him, trying to chat him up, trying to do a little smoocheroonie. We don't know if that's true at all. Lord knows what they were talking about. Perhaps there was an affair. But regardless, John was shot in the head for seemingly no reason whatsoever. Sad way to end for him. Not for the Collinses though. They seem to be right where they belong. Pretty rad. What happened to them is both are pretty unrepentant about what they actually did to an innocent man who's trying to make his community better. But you know, drugs and being a piece of shit will do that to you. Sinead.
Please remember to pray.
Thank you so much for watching, folks. It means a lot to me that you
Do no harm. Take no crap. And I will catch you on the next one. My hair just got wrapped around my Isis stone. Blue lapis. For one. It's the first one I ever picked up. Before I realized that it was connected to anything. I was just drawn to it. It's because of the past life. Incarnation. Also the royal bloodline that I still carry today. Do no harm. Take no crap. And I'll catch you in the next one. Thanks for being here, darlings. One love and blessings.